first of all, there's no legitimacy. That's not a caliphate. So the idea that it's a caliphate is absolutely absurd. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever fights under a blind flag and dies a Jahili death. We don't know where this flag came from. I mean, we know literally where the flag came from, but we don't know figuratively where the flag came from. We don't know who these people are. Who ever heard of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi? Seriously, who is he? Everybody knew who Umar ibn al-Khattab was. Everybody knew who Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was. Everybody knew who they were. Muawiyah was known. His son Yazid was known. People knew who they were. I don't know who this guy is. There's all these different opinions. Some say he was like a taxi driver. Some say he was had a doctorate in Islamic law. I mean, there's all these different things. We don't know where they came. Who made the flags? I want to know what factory's producing those flags, because there's so many of them. You know, where did those orange suits come from? Like, who provided those? I mean, that's really interesting. You know, so I mean, what's going on? I don't know. But if you think that is a clear situation, right, then you're using clear in the Scientology's usage, you know. I mean, that is a completely ambiguous situation. We don't know what's going on there. But you can't say, Sayyidina Umar said, if somebody claims to be caliph, don't take bay'ah with him. Right? You can't just, you know, amruhum shura bainahum. Somebody declares he's caliph? What is that? You know, that's Zig Heil. That's another religion. So, I mean, that whole idea. And so slavery was abolished. You know, the Prophet ﷺ freed slaves. The Quran encourages to free slaves. Concubinage existed in the pre-modern world. It existed in the Bible. And it was practiced. Islam humanized what were inhumane institutions, right? And it's as simple as that. But the modern world, there's more slavery today in the modern world than there ever has been in human history. So this idea that we've abolished slavery is a load of crap. And there's all these women in horrific, inhumane concubinage in the United States, right? And people go and they sleep with these women and they don't care about them. You know, so all these righteous cheese and cracker people out there, you know, all the cheese and cracker crowd. You know, I mean, these people sit around and discuss things over red wine, how horrific and barbaric the Muslims are, when their own civilization is filled with the most horrific crimes against humanity. So I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. Yeah. Humans are humans. You know, Islam deals with the human beast as he or she is. Not as we would like this idealized creature, angelic creature to be. No, there are beasts out there. And they do beastly things, right? So, but the idea somehow that this is acceptable in Islam, a'udhu billah minash shaitanir rajim. It's a demonic situation. Simple as that. These poor Yazidi girls. I mean, they've been living in that civilization for centuries. What Muslims never knew that, you know, and they're not devil worshippers, you know. They've got some angel that's called Shaitan or something like that. That's the same in this culture. Lucifer is the fallen angel, and, you know, but Muslims left them alone. You know, they left them alone. Muslims were very tolerant civilizations. Just left people alone, you know. If you don't step on people's toes, they tend to just reciprocate with civility. If you step on their toes, people get angry. But yeah, it's a bad situation. Muslims, I mean, this is a tough situation for Islam. I don't know if it's, you know, there's probably periods that have been close to, but the real crisis today is the lack of scholars. I mean, that's where the real crisis is. And there's so many Sheikh Googles out there. There's so many muftis of the internet. And it's really creating immense confusion in our community. On top of that, you have an anti-phobic industry, Islamophobic industry out there that is heavily funded. They have their own scholars. And if I wanted to write a book painting Islam as the darkest religion in human history, I could do it. Anybody that has access to, our library, the pre-modern library, can pull out things. But they were never normative Islam. You have crazy opinions in every religion. They weren't normative. I mean, you have, opinions in the Jewish tradition that a child can be married at the age of 3 and penetrated. But that's not normative rabbinical Judaism, but that opinion exists. So if you put that out and say, oh, look, the Jews, they permit pedophilia, that's crazy. They don't permit that. But you can find those opinions. And Christians that are anti-Jewish, they pull out this stuff from the Talmud, and they say, look how evil Judaism is, right? You could do the same thing with Islam, and the truth be told, you could do it with Christianity as well. Because there's a lot of crazy opinions in Christianity as well. But what is normative Islam? And then, when is normative Islam overridden? Because we have, for instance, istihsan, according to the Malikis and the Hanafis. We have istihsan, we have masalih al-mursalat, we have usuli tools that I'm going to talk about in the next lecture. We have usuli tools that enable us to override things that would be unjust if they were implemented. For instance, ridda right now, you can't implement apostasy laws in the Muslim world. Ibn Humam, the great Shafi'i scholar, said that when ignorance is widespread, you suspend the had punishments altogether. There's no had punishments because people are ignorant. You have to educate people. You can't cut off hands when you have the type of poverty and injustice on this planet that we have. You can't cut people's hands off for stealing. So, Sharia is rational, it's merciful, it's generous, it's al-Hanafiyatu Samha. And the Prophet ﷺ, he was forgiving. And if you look at all the Sahaba, I'll give you one example. Sayyidina Umar caught a thief. And the thief said, it's the first time. He said, you're a liar because Allah will always veil you the first time. And then he said, Asarakta qul la. He said, did you steal? Say no. And this is Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, did you steal? Say no. And he said, no. And he said, get out of here. Innaka dharif. You're an intelligent. That's dharafat al-faqih. The faqih got him out of this. He said, did you steal? And then he said, say no. So what does he do? He didn't say, yes, I stole, and no. He said no. So he got the point. And so Omar, what Abu Bakr al-Tartushi said, Omar understood that his intelligence would prevent him from doing it a second time. This is leniency. This is leniency in our tradition. And that was the tradition. But, women, the Prophet said, لا يكرمهن إلا كريم ولا يهينهن إلا اللئيم. No one honors women except honorable men, and no one degrades them except contemptible men. And so what's being done to these women is contemptible. And these are contemptible people. They're degrading these women. These women have their human dignity. When did you make them slaves? When their mothers gave them birth as free people.